Honda CR-V, courtesy of Apple Honda in York, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So this is officially the 6th generation of the Honda CR-V, and it has been completely redesigned for the 2023 model year. And quite honestly, I think it looks dang good. It didn't look bad before, but it looks really, really good now. I will say that. So ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as you can imagine, there are a few different trim levels for the 2023 CR-V. First one being EX, starting at $31,110, Sport Hybrid for $32,450, EXL for $33,760, and then the Sport Touring Hybrid for $38,600. And I will say, for the last trim level, all-wheel drive does come standard, but for the other trim levels, front-wheel drive is standard, but you can get all-wheel drive by simply adding $1,500 then to any of those prices. But so then, as you can imagine, with all of those trim levels, there are a couple different engine configurations available for the CR-V. First one being the one that we have today, which is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. This particular engine configuration belongs to the EX trim level and the EXL. We do have the EXL with us here today. Power output comes in at 190 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 179 pound-feet of torque coming in at 1,700 RPM. Power sent to front wheels or all wheels through a CVT. MPG numbers then coming in at 28 in the city, 34 on the highway for the front wheel drive, 27 city, 32 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel. But so then you have the other power plant belonging to the hybrid configurations. That one is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder with 2 electric motors. That one comes in at a combined 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque, sent to front wheels or all wheels yet again through a CVT. 0 to 60 time for that one, approximately 7.6 seconds, with MPG numbers coming in at 43 in the city, 36 on the highway for the front wheel drive. That is dang impressive. And then 40 in the city, 34 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel yet again. But before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in our CR-V, I wanted to mention to you guys the drive modes. There's a little toggle switch located just to the left of the shifter, and that will give you different drive modes, including Econ, Normal, and Snow, and actually Sport as well, if you were to go with the hybrid trim level. That's the only trim that's going to give you that Sport driving mode. But nonetheless, adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity. And quite honestly, we are in normal driving mode right now, and I can tell you guys the steering sensitivity is wonderful. We'll get more into that a little bit later in the video, but first thing I noticed, I love it. But so anyways, now I've got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find it straight away. Let's put this acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2023 Honda CR-V here up to speed. All right, this literally looks like the perfect spot. In 3, 2, 1, go baby. Little bit of turbo lag. There it is. Once you get up on the upper RPMs, it really goes. So not gonna have any issues merging onto the highway, but like I said at the very beginning of that acceleration, as you quite often find in turbocharged 4-cylinders, there's a little bit of turbo lag, but as long as you're up higher in the RPMs, that really is not gonna be a problem. So you're not gonna have any issues in merging onto the highway. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 12.3-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 12.2-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, it's going to come in at 123 feet, which is perfectly fine. That's a pretty average number for the segment. As far as braking feel goes, since there's nobody behind us, it's great. Honestly, I love it. It's definitely on the firmer side of things, so the braking feel feels perfect on this CR-V. I will say that. A lot of SUVs will give you looser kind of braking feels where you have to press down on the pedal a little bit harder to get it to stop, but it's not the case. I love the braking feel here in the CR-V. Then touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get a McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, multi-link double wishbone type rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. As far as ride quality goes, it's been great. It's been perfectly fine on my short test drive here today, so I definitely am not having any issues with the ride quality, believe it or not. Steering feel is brilliant. It's like Mazda, like, you guys. I absolutely love this steering feel on the Honda CR-V. It's weighted on the heavier side of things, instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. And the reason I'm emphasizing this so much is because a lot of times in SUVs you find looser steering feels with not a whole lot of emotion, but Honda's kind of MO is really to be a driver's car, kind of like Mazda, I guess. I kind of put them in the same category, and that's definitely the case here in the CR-V. You wouldn't expect it, because this is just, it's kind of like a family vehicle that you haul your kids in to get them to school and stuff, but the steering feel is quite brilliant. Like I said, heavier side of things, 100% on point. But then touching on cabin noise, I am going 36 miles per hour right now, and so far it's been perfectly fine, so definitely no issues there for me. Then touching on visibility, 100% on point yet again. The rear headrests don't take up all that much room, and I can see perfectly fine out that back window, so no issues there. And rain sensing windshield wipers are going to come on the Sport Touring Hybrid trim level, so that's essentially going to assist with forward visibility. Whenever the CR-V detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you, so it's a big old convenience feature, kind of like automatic headlights, so that's a big win there as well. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2023 Honda CR-V. All right, here she is, you guys, the new 2023 Honda CR-V, finished in lunar silver metallic, in case you were curious. It looks pretty dang good this morning, actually. A very nice morning here in Pennsylvania, but again, completely new look for 2023 CR-V. Definitely looks very much better than the previous generation. Not that that was a bad looking generation, but this looks just amazing. Very more masculine, I guess you could say. So anyways, first thing I want to mention before we get started up front here is the VIN does start with the 2, meaning this one is built in Canada. Always like to mention that for you guys now, but let's go ahead and start up front. Unique front fascia for the Sport Hybrid trim level, so it's going to look a little bit different than the current look that you guys are looking at right now, so I wanted to mention that. A little more aggressive, I'll put it that way. LED headlights to the sides do come standard for every single trim level across the board, so you gotta love that. Added illumination at night, at least comparatively speaking to the good old halogens. LED daytime running lights also coming standard. You do get the automatic feature, meaning when it starts to get darken at night, headlights will turn on automatically for you there, but you also get automatic high beams for every single trim level across the board. Meaning if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. Then when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up to high beams then. Another thing I just noticed, it has dark housings around the headlights. A lot of times you'll find clear housing. So I do like the dark housing look because we do have a lot of black accents around this thing, including just matte black on the front lip there. So do like the look of that. And you do have active grille shutters up front as well, so they're going to open and close dependent upon the engine cooling that is needed at any given time. And you do have some front air curtains down to the corners there, helping direct air around the wheel and tire combination. So again, completely new look up front. I am personally a big fan of it, so let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of this one. So now go ahead and make our way to the side. All right, so starting up top here, gloss black roof rails will come standard on the Sport trim, so therefore we do not have those with us here today. But chrome window surrounds will also come standard. Taking a look at the side mirrors then, body color power adjustable side mirrors do come standard. Unless you go with the Sport Hybrid trims, then you're actually going to get gloss black finish to those side mirrors, so I do want to emphasize that. Heated side mirrors do come standard as well, with LED integrated turn signals then as well, so that's pretty cool. Then take a look down at the wheel setup. 18-inch silver painted alloys for the EX trims, that's what you guys of course are looking at right now. 18-inch gloss black alloys then for the Sport Hybrid, and then 19-inch gloss black alloys for the Sport Touring Hybrid. So pretty big differentiation there amongst the trim levels when it comes to the wheel setup. And you got the matte black fender surrounds and side skirts as well. But again, that pretty much rounds out the side profile here. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back of the CR-V. All right, so now since you are around to the back of this one, all the way to the top, you will find a body-colored shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper. Got some redesigned taillights that look dang good. I love the new look to them. The kind of Volvo-esque kind of, actually, now that I think about it, kind of like a Volvo XC90 or something. But LED taillights, of course, so added illumination at night there. And then just below it all, you will find dual exhaust outlets across the board. You will get chrome tips available for the Sport trim levels. However, of course, we just have the EXL with us here today, so they are simply tucked away. But nonetheless, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. Is always here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so but now since we are around to the back of the CR-V, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is a power tailgate for the EXL trim level that we have today. Then if you were to go with that Sport Touring, it actually is a hands-free power tailgate. So there's a couple different ways to go ahead and open it. There is a button on the key fob itself. There's a button on the tailgate itself. You simply just press that rubberized button. It's going to automatically open up for you. And then there's actually a button to close it as well. And there's a button by the driver's side left knee in the driver's seat as well. But cool thing is this tailgate is very, very adjustable. One of the higher opening tailgates, and I emphasize that because I'm 6 feet tall, and a lot of times I'll hit my head kind of, or I have to bend down to kind of get out of there, but this one opens up a good bit, so I absolutely love that. So for taller adults putting stuff in the cargo area, that's a big win. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 39.3 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, there's a 60-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down, bumping that up to 76.5 cubic feet. That is very impressive for its class. I just want to mention that cargo lighting can be found back there, but it's LED cargo lighting. It's not your typical halogen bulbs that you usually will find on the competition. Again, big fan of that as well. Tie-down anchors back there. There's grocery bag hooks. There's actually a 12-volt power outlet I found back there as well, which you don't always find in SUVs, so I like that. And then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you're actually going to find a spare tire, which again, I'm a big fan of because the alternative is the fix-a-flat, which I'm not a big fan of. So I do like that, and there is some storage kind of around it. You could probably put an ice scraper underneath there as well. But then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in an extremely impressive 41 inches even. That's a ton of space, you guys, for the class. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I have back there. Typically, you get around 39 inches for the class. I'll put it that way. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. I like that. Rear USB charging ports for the Sport Hybrid trim levels. So therefore, we don't have them today, unfortunately. There is rear ventilation, though, that does come standard back there. So I do like that. And honestly, one thing I think it was missing was would have been nice to see some rear window sunshades back there. I'm just saying. But anyways, then making our way up to the front seats. 10-way power adjustable front seats with 2-way power lumbar. This is one of the first things I noticed as well. Extremely comfortable seating in this thing. Yes, it has horizontal seams. The vertical seams would have been better, but still, very adjustable power lumbar, extremely adjustable power lumbar. And quite honestly, between the steering wheel and the seats, it was incredible comfort when it comes to the seat comfort. So anyways, I'm going to continue here. Heated front seats do come standard on all trim levels. Cloth seating for the EX and Sport Hybrid. Leather seating for the EXL and Sport Touring Hybrid trims. Power adjustable passenger seat for the EXL and Sport Touring again. And memory settings again for the EXL and Sport Touring for up to 2 different drivers found here on the driver's side door. So then take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped on all trim levels but the EX. Wanted to emphasize that. And it will be heated on that Sport Touring trim level as well. And the 10 and 2 grips are bolstered on the thicker side of things. Another reason I was a big fan of this steering wheel here. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. You got your nice Honda logo on the one side. Then when you flip it over, lock, unlock, that button to pop the rear tailgate, and that circular button that's going to be a remote start, which by the way comes standard on every single trim level across the board. So when it's a super cold day here in Pennsylvania, you simply just press that and it's going to automatically turn it on for you and warm up the vehicle before you get actually inside of it. So I'm a huge fan of that. And it is keyless entry with a push button start for all trim levels across the board. So in this case, all I'm going to do, simply just put my foot on the brake and press that black and red engine start button located just to the left of the air vents there. And so once started up, gauges look good. Yet again, 7-inch digital gauge cluster kind of found on the left side of things, kind of an analog setup to the right, but it looks dang good. And when you change up your driving mode, it does a cool little kind of illustration of the drive mode that you switch it to. So I was a big fan of that as well. But tachometer is on your left. It pretty much has everything you could possibly want on the digital portion of the gauge. It gives you your outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, and all that can be controlled by simply using the steering wheel mounted controls then. So no issues there. But then taking a look at overall interior quality, a power moonroof actually comes standard on every single trim level across the board. That surprised me. You usually don't find that on the bottom trim, so big fan of that. LED interior lighting, all trim levels across the board. Dual zone climate control, all trim levels across the board, so both driver and passenger can set their own temperatures there. One thing about the dual zone climate control and the climate control buttons in general, it's kind of LED backlit. I think that's such a cool little thing they got going on there. So it's kind of like Mercedes-Benz puts ambient lighting around their climate control vents. Honda apparently is putting LED backlit lighting around their climate control buttons. So Usually you don't find that. I'm a big fan of that. Auto-dimming rear view mirror for the EXL and Touring trim levels, wireless phone charger for the EXL and Touring trim levels as well, and that's going to be located just in front of the shifter here. But in addition to that, you do have a USB charging port, regular phone charging port, 12-volt power outlet. You do have an electromechanical parking brake just to the left of the shifter. You do have dual cup holders just behind that. And within the center armrest, actually a decent amount of storage in there. Well done, Honda. So I do like the kind of texturized finishes that are found just below the air vents here up front and also found on all of the doors. I was a big fan of that. I'm always a fan of texturized finishes, so I'm a big fan of that. Also the door handles. I like the design to the door handles. I know it's small, but it looks kind of like Lexus's samurai sword door handles that they put in their vehicles. So I'm a big fan of that as well. Maybe it's because Honda is a Japanese company and they designed it that way. I don't know. But you do have an overhead sunglass holder that's going to come for all trim levels as well. And overall, I mean, it's kind of on the basic side. You do have some matte black plastic surrounding the shifter, also surrounding the window buttons on the doors, but honestly, it's perfectly fine for me. It gets the job done. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen, because there's going to be a couple of them. 7-inch color touchscreen display coming with the EX and the Sport hybrid trims, but you will get a 9-inch color touchscreen display for the EXL and the Touring. Either way, you get Bluetooth and audio streaming, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You will get factory navigation system for that Touring trim level. Of course, Honda has your cool little clock option where you can display a clock. I always like the looks of their clocks. They look kind of funky, but also you can check out your radio information, of course. And when it comes to the sound systems, there's several of them. 6 speakers and 240 watts is going to come with the EX and Sport hybrid. Then you're going to get an 8-speaker sound system with 320 watts for the EXL that we have today, and then a 12-speaker Bose sound system for that Sport Touring. So having said that, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing this morning, and let's test out the clarity of this one. That's 100% perfectly fine for me. There's a ton of bass with that 8-speaker sound system we have in the EXL here. So I would say for the EXL and the Sport Touring, you're definitely going to be perfectly fine. I don't know how the other sound system is going to sound, but plenty of clarity. Again, ton of bass for that 8-speaker sound system that we have with us here today. But last thing I want to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the CR-V in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board with a few different views as well. So that's kind of cool, but not the most high definition rear view camera I've ever seen, but it'll definitely get the job done. And as always, that is going to lead us into safety. And so to start, let me first start by mentioning the 2022 CR-V is an IIHS top safety pick. It hasn't been rated by IIHS quite yet for 2023, but typically the way it works is vehicles either get better or they stay the same. So I wouldn't imagine it would no longer be an IIHS top safety pick. So I'll just put it that way. Front side curtain airbags do come standard, driver and passenger knee airbags as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, a collision mitigation braking system, road departure mitigation system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, traffic jam assist, traffic sign recognition, and a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert as well. And a lot of times that's a feature you find on upper trim levels of other manufacturers, but it comes standard across the board here in the CR-V. So I'm a big fan of that. And if you were to go with the EXL or Sport Touring, you're also going to get front and rear parking sensors as well. So that's pretty cool. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the CR-V, I do love the redesign. I think this thing looks dang good. Not that it didn't look good before, but it really looks good now. Bose sound system availability is going to be incredible, but the sound system in the EXL is plenty fine for me as well. So honestly, it's a really good sound system here. Tons of space for its class. 76 point whatever cubic feet is a good bit of space for its particular class. And that's something Honda has always kind of beat the competition with, is the cargo space for the segment. So big fan of that. I will say great MPGs on the hybrid as well. And steering feel, 100% on point here in the CR-V. So big fan of the steering feel of this thing. Really the only constructive criticism that I personally would think of that would be going through my mind, and it really isn't constructive criticism as much as it is just the unknown, which is the reliability. There's no longer a naturally aspirated engine option for the CR-V. You either have the hybrid configuration with 2 electric motors, or you have the turbocharged 4-cylinder that we have today, both of which traditionally are not as reliable as a traditional naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. Brand new 2022 Mazda CX5, courtesy of Jack Giambalvo Mazda in York, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. And by the way, they just got a brand new building and it smells like a brand new building on the inside. It's absolutely wonderful. But anyways, we're in the new CX5 today because there's been some exterior design changes for the 2022 model year, which I'm definitely a fan of. Also, incredible reliability according to Consumer Reports. Just pick up a Consumer Reports magazine. They give it a well above average reliability rating, which is amazing. All-wheel drive also now comes standard across the board for the CX5, so that is definitely going to be good if you live in Pennsylvania like I do and you have to drive to work in the snow. That's going to be very beneficial for you. But ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing it. So as you can imagine, there are an absolute ridiculous amount of trim levels available for the CX5. First, you have the S starting at $25,900, the Select for $27,900, Preferred for $29,600, Carbon Edition for $30,720, Premium for $32,310, Premium Plus for $33,950, which by the way is the one we have today. And then you have the 2.5 Turbo for $36,400, and lastly, 2.5 Turbo Signature for $38,650. And so, as you can imagine, with all of these trim levels, there are actually two different engine configurations. First one belonging to all the non-turbo trim levels, that is a 2.5 liter direct injected inline 4-cylinder, and the one, of course, that we have today, 187 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 186 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 4,000 RPM, power sent to all four wheels through a 6-speed automatic with paddle shifters if you go with the premium trim level and up for those paddle shifters at least. 0 to 60 time is going to come in at approximately 8.3 seconds, red line 6,500 RPM, with MPG numbers coming in at 24 in the city, 30 on the highway, taking regular unleaded fuel. But so then you have the other option, of course, the turbocharged option. That one is a 2.5 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, putting out 256 horsepower at 5,000 RPM, 320 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 2,500 RPM, power sent to all four wheels yet again through a 6-speed automatic, 0 to 60, 6.1 seconds. That's dang impressive, actually. Red line 6,300 RPM, MPGs 22 in the city, 27 on the highway. But here's the kicker with the fuel type. Regular unleaded fuel is perfectly fine. You could do that, but you're gonna get pretty substantially decreased power numbers. But premium fuel is recommended for those power numbers that I just rambled off. So did want to put it that way. But anyways, before we do any kind of fun paddle shifter or acceleration test here in our CX5, I want to mention the drive modes. There's a little toggle switch looking thing just to the left of the shifter that's going to give you sport and off-road modes. Off-road only applies to the turbo engine option though. I'll just put it that way. But anyways, it's going to adjust things like the shift points and the throttle response. And now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and put the paddle shifters here to the test, and let's see how quickly they are going to react for us. And by the way, there is a full manual shift mode. You just simply slide the shifter all the way to the back and to the left. That is going to give me full control over the shifting. So let's just test out and see how quickly these paddle shifters are going to react for us here. All right, we got a red light here, so on green we are going to test out the paddle shifters. Here we go. Okay. Ever so slight, and actually better than normal. Typically when I test out paddle shifters in SUVs, there is 100% a delay. This isn't as bad as most, but there is a slight delay. It's not like BMW or Mercedes-Benz quick, but they're not bad, I gotta be honest. And typically in SUVs anyways, what you're gonna be using the paddle shifters for is to do a little bit of engine braking. Let's say it's snowing out and I'm going down this hill right now, rather than actually hitting the brakes and risk sliding off the road, I might do a little bit of downshifting with the paddle shifter. So let the engine do the braking so you're less likely to actually slide off the road. So that's really what they're going to be there for in an SUV anyways. But I do like I said, I do like that they're there. But anyways, let's now go ahead and find yet another straightaway. Let's put the acceleration to the test here, and let's see how quickly that 0 to 60 in, what did I say, 8.2, 8.3 feels in our non-turbocharged engine that we have here today. All right, a little bit of a rolling start. Not bad though. It's actually not bad. I don't mind that. Honestly, it's kind of what I expected for this SUV, so you're not gonna have any issues in merging onto the highway. And you know one of the best parts, you guys? It's not a CVT. There's so many SUVs, so much competition to the CX5, and they all use emotionless CVTs, or continuously variable transmissions. But the 6-speed automatic, it's dang refreshing because it actually gives you a little bit of driving emotion to that acceleration. So I give Mazda props for sticking with the 6-speed automatic. It's definitely, honestly, a selling point for me. So I like it. Anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 11.7-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 11.9-inch solid rear discs. And actually, did want to mention the turbocharged engine actually bumps up those front discs to 12.6-inch ventilated front discs. But as far as that 60 to 0 stopping distance goes, they're just going to come in at 129 feet, which, to be honest, is a little bit on the higher side of things. You do typically find 120s as far as that 60 to 0 stopping distance goes, but sometimes even 130s actually. But typically, I like to be under 120 as far as that braking feel goes, because it is a little bit on the softer side of things. It's not bad. It's something you get used to, but just a little bit on the softer side of things for this SUV. But so then touching on suspension and handling, up front, you're going to get a McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. As far as ride quality goes, that's been perfectly fine on my short test drive here today. So definitely not having any issues with the ride quality. It's absorbing Pennsylvania's road imperfections perfectly fine. As far as steering feel goes, that is the first thing I noticed when I got in the CX5, and it's probably the main selling point for me personally, besides the stellar reliability, is the steering feel is on the heavy side, comparably speaking to all the competition for this SUV, which I love. Again, it's all about driving emotion with Mazda, and that is definitely the case with the CX5. It's got a very nicely weighted steering feel. It's got the 6-speed automatic. It's definitely a driver enthusiast SUV, I'll put it that way, which I love in this thing. So steering feel is definitely on the heavier side of things. It instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. So big fan of that. As far as cabin noise goes, I am going about 10 miles per hour right now. So you guys are hearing absolutely nothing, but even when I was going a little faster, cabin noise is 100% on point as well. So no issues there. And actually for 2022, Mazda says there is a more rigid frame, which is said to improve noise levels. So that is another one of those new updates for 2022. And honestly, I could tell it was very quiet when I was on the highway there. So definitely no issues there, like I said. Then touching on visibility, I can see 100% perfectly fine out the back, and it is a kind of smaller SUV, so really shouldn't have any issues with that. Rain sensing windshield wipers though actually come standard across the board, meaning whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for us. That is pretty darn cool. And there is a head-up display available for the Premium Plus trim level and up if you wanted to go that route as well. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2022 Mazda CX5. All right, you guys, so here she is, the new 2022 Mazda CX5, finished in Soul Red Crystal Metallic. Pretty cool name for an exterior color of a vehicle. And actually, I do like it. It looks pretty darn good. But anyways, revised front fascia for the 2022 model year definitely looks good. Not that the older one looked bad, but I do like the slimmer look of the front headlights specifically. They definitely look pretty darn good up there. But speaking of, let's go ahead and start up front on the CX5. Matte black front lip for all trims, but the turbo signature, because then it is going to be body colored, of course. Of course, you have some chrome trim surrounding the bottom portion of that front grille. That looks pretty darn good as well. To the sides, LED headlights do come standard. They, of course, come with the automatic feature as well, along with automatic high beams, meaning when you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. Then when that vehicle is gone, it's going to bump that back up then to high beams. So that is pretty nice. LED daytime running lights also coming standard. Like I said, redesigned headlight housings for the better. I love the look of the slimmer LED headlights up front. They definitely look very good. Adaptive front lighting system though actually comes standard with the turbo trim levels, meaning when you're going around a bend at night, those headlights are going to swivel dependent upon the steering angle, better help illuminating what is around that bend, so you're less likely to hit a deer or a possum or a snail or whatever it is. So that is pretty darn good as well. But anyways, pretty much rounds out the front end of this one. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the side of the CX5. And so, but now since we are around to the side of the CX5, no roof rails are going to come standard. However, they are optional if you wanted to go that route. So I wanted to specify that. Rear privacy glass does come standard across the board. That looks good. Body colored power adjustable side mirrors coming standard with LED integrated turn signals. And if you were to go with one of the turbo trim levels, you will also get power folding side mirrors then as well. Then take a look down at the wheel setup. 17 by 7 inch aluminum alloys for the S, Select, and preferred trim levels, 19 by 7 inch black alloys for the Carbon Edition, Premium, Premium Plus, and Turbo. And then you got 19 by 7 inch silver aluminum alloys for the Turbo Signature. But again, that pretty much rounds out the side. I do like the chrome beltline molding found on the side here as well, so definitely looks good. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the back of the CX5. All right, so now since we are around to the back of this one, body colored shark fin antenna found all the way to the top. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper, LED tail lights coming standard for every single trim level across the board. And again, a slight redesign for those tail light housing, so that definitely looks good. Of course, you got the CX5 and all-wheel drive badging back there. Just below it all, you will find some matte black accents on the lower portion of that rear bumper, and to the sides, dual exhaust outlets with chrome tips. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. So now since we are around to the back of the CX5, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is a power tailgate if you go with the preferred trim level and up, meaning there is a button on the key fob, there is a button on the tailgate itself, and a button by the driver's side left knee then as well. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 30.8 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, there is a 40-20-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down, bumping that up to 59.3 cubic feet. Of course, there is some cargo lighting found in that cargo area as expected. There's actually a 12-volt power outlet back there then as well. And then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find a spare tire, which I personally prefer over the Fix-A-Flat as well, which is pretty cool. But then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at 39.6 inches. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had back there. Rear ventilation does come standard for the select trim level and up. Rear center armrest with cup holders coming standard for all trim levels across the board. There are dual rear USB charging ports for the select trim level and up. And the best part about those charging ports, they're not actually located in just below the air vents. They're actually located within the center armrest there. So I love that, because if you're a kid, that's going to be a much bigger reach for you if they were located underneath the air vent. So it's so much more convenient that they're located within that center armrest, where there's also kind of a little bit of storage there, like a tablet holder almost as well. So it's pretty darn convenient the way they actually set up that center armrest back there. So I was a big fan of that. But also heated rear seats coming with the Premium Plus trim level. And again, those heated seat buttons are actually located within the center armrest yet again. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, then make our way up to the front seats. Manually adjustable cloth seating coming with the S. Leatherette suede combo coming with the Select. Leather seating coming with the preferred trim level and up. Heated front seats for the Select trim level and up. 6-way power driver seat for the Select. 8-way power driver seat with power lumbar coming with the preferred trim level and up. 6-way power adjustable passenger seat with the preferred trim level and up, and ventilated front seats for the Premium Plus and Turbo trim levels. And overall, seating was plenty comfortable. You could easily go on a long road trip here in the CX5. Anyways, then take a look. The steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped for all trim levels, and then heated for the Premium Plus trim level and the Turbo trim levels then as well. So no issues there. Then make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key. You do have your Mazda logo on the one side. Then looking at the side, you actually have lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear hatch. All of your buttons are actually on the side of the key there, but it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just by the driver's right knee. And so, but then upon startup, tachometer is all the way to your left, speedometer is front and center. By the way, there is going to be a larger 7-inch LCD display if you were to go with one of the turbo trim levels. Obviously, we don't have that today, but still, overall, pretty much everything you could possibly want up there. You do have how many miles you have left until you hit empty. That's going to be located immediately to the right of that center speedometer. And of course, if you press the info button on the left side of the steering wheel, you can adjust what is located within that center speedometer as well. So a bunch of different options there, since that is the digital portion of the gauges after all. But overall, when it comes to interior quality now, power moonroof coming with the preferred trim level and up. So we do have that today. That's pretty cool. Overhead sunglass holder coming standard for all trim levels. Auto dimming rear view mirror with home link controls for the preferred trim level and up. You will get LED interior lighting for the Turbo Signature. dual zone climate control for the select trim level and up, and you will get some wood trim on the turbo signature as well. But honestly, I kind of like the grainy look that we have just above the passenger side glove box that carries onto the door. It looks like wood. It's not real wood, it is plastic, but it looks good. I'll say that. A lot of soft touch material as well. Just in front of the shifter, you have a decent amount of rubberized storage along with a 12-volt power outlet. Behind the shifter, you have an electromechanical parking brake, dual cup holders, and a decent amount of storage within the center armrest, along with a 12-volt power outlet and 2 USB charging ports then as well. So overall, interior quality is perfectly fine. It certainly gets the job done. So then taking a look at the infotainment screen, there is a 10.25-inch screen that comes standard across the board. It is not touchscreen. The way you control it is you use the circular dial and buttons located directly behind the shifter, which kind of is more convenient anyways when you're driving. You don't want to be reaching that far and taking your eyes off the road. But anyways, Bluetooth and audio streaming do come standard. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, factory navigation system for the turbo signature trim level. You can also find some driving statistics up there if you wanted to, and of course your radio information as well. And so when it comes to the sound systems, there are 3 of them actually. You will get 4 speakers for the S trim level, 6 speakers for the Select, Preferred, and Carbon Edition, and then a 10-speaker Bose sound system for the premium trim level and up. So having said that, we do of course have that Bose sound system with us here today. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Guys, honestly, that sound system was amazing. I wish I had that Bose sound system in my own car because that was wonderful. The bass was intense, clarity was crystal clear. Quite honestly, for the CX5, it's absolutely perfect. And I've had Bose sound systems in my cars before. They've never failed me. Bose is a very reputable company, so they're definitely there for reliability and they're long lasting. So that was an amazing sound system for the CX5. But anyways, last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the CX5 in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board. And if you were to go with the turbo signature, you're also going to get a 360-degree monitor as well, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, first thing I wanted to mention because that pretty much says it all right there. That's the very highest rating given out by IIHS. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system. But also coming standard for all trim levels across the board will be hill start assist, blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise control with stop and go, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, forward collision warning, and lane departure warning with lane keep assist then as well. Then, if you were to go with the turbo signature, that is going to add to that front and rear parking sensors, driver attention monitoring system, smart city brake support, and traffic jam assist then as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, I do like the slight refresh. I think the slimmer headlight and taillight designs look absolutely amazing, so big fan of that. Excellent steering feel. I absolutely love that. It's one of the best part really about driving any Mazda is the steering feel, and the handling is absolutely amazing. Great reliability. Just look at Consumer Reports for that. Perfect safety. So if you have kids, this is definitely a vehicle you should not feel sorry about driving because it is the best safety rating you could possibly get. As far as room for improvement goes, where's the wireless phone charger? I wouldn't have minded seeing that. Full digital gauge cluster, of course, would be pretty darn sweet as well. And it doesn't have as much space as some of the competitors. So that's really the main drawback, I guess you could say, for the CX5 is the overall space. But overall, I was definitely a big fan. Let me know what you guys think.